If you like fully destructible VR environments or unleashing your inner psycho, then Voxel Project VR might be worth checking out. The psycho part will definitely resonate with Blade and Sorcery fans, but without further ado, let's get into this review starting with what this game actually is. This is very much a single-player game with no actual story. There's no hero's journey, just you and a whole bunch of stuff basically waiting to be obliterated. At its core, Voxel Project VR feels like a sandbox game that later got sprinkled with a few game modes for variety. That isn't a bad thing though. As of this review, there are 3 main modes: Missions, Sandbox, and Siege, all of which pretty much play out exactly like you'd expect based on the names. Missions give you objectives that often capitalize on skills like home renovation or business relocation. Sandbox is pure creative chaos, and Siege has you fending off waves of enemies, letting you really unleash your inner psycho. Now again, there's no story here, but the fun is in the freedom and the destruction that comes naturally in this gameplay. This game came out of nowhere for me and managed to pull in 106 players when it launched. That might sound small, but it is an indie game that basically came out of nowhere. And at the very least, I'm not the only one that's impressed. On SteamDB, this game's got a higher rating than both Metro Awakening and Skydance's Behemoth, without even feeling like a complete game yet. That should give you an idea of what kind of engagement you might expect from a game with destructible environments like this one. Speaking of the mechanics, it's the aspect of this game that most caught me off guard. Going into this, I had no clue what I was stepping into because sometimes I dive straight into these games with no prior research. I figured it'd just be another voxel sandbox with some light pew-pew action and a few explosions. You know, fun but forgettable. The combat here though is surprisingly visceral. Even without over-the-top blood effects, it still feels brutal. The combat isn't even flashy, but it doesn't need to be. You're literally tearing enemies apart voxel by voxel, and that kind of damage system hits different when you can see the bones of your enemies. It's like this game found a clever little loophole. With everything being blocks, it sidesteps the gore while still serving up crazy looking crime scenes. It's almost as if the blocks help censor the game itself, which is pretty genius if intentional. Outside of combat though, everything in the environment is destructible, and I mean everything. If it's in your way, a few minutes with the right tools will fix that for you. Between chucking grenades or carving through metal with an angle grinder, it just feels satisfying to destroy stuff. At one point, I had a mission to destroy part of a crane on a shipping dock. Now, me being the overachiever that I am, decided it'd be easier to bring down the whole thing with an angle cutter and a shotgun. My efforts paid off when the crane came crashing down with so much force it almost took the game with it. More on that in a minute, but that's to say the tools and weapons here are straightforward and effective. They're not necessarily straight to the point intuitive, but a few seconds messing with the controls usually gives you the desired results. These interactions just feel VR native. Even the in-game tablet, which isn't a touchscreen, works fine for what it is. Normally I'd have a problem with this, but given my stumps lack opposable thumbs, I'll give it a pass this time. Moving on to the graphics, visually Voxel Project is pretty much what you'd expect. Think Minecraft, but with better lighting, sharper details, and physics. Obviously, these graphics aren't going to blow you away, but that's okay because it's not the focus of this game. Even so, the lighting in this game is pretty decent. Outside of pitch black areas, which, fair warning, will require a flashlight or some other light source, lighting is actually handled pretty well. There's a nice contrast when you shine your light into darker spaces, and it makes everything feel a little more atmospheric than you'd expect from a blocky sandbox game. As far as performance goes, jokes aside, it's solid when you're not destroying massive structures. That crane I mentioned earlier, the one I brought down with finesse, ended up causing the entire game to dip below 1 FPS for a minute while collapsing on itself. Ultimately, it did recover and the game didn't crash, but I think that was less the game's doing and more my PC just chugging along until the storm passed. All in all, the visuals aren't terrible for a voxel game. This game is trying to give you a playground of chaos that still looks decent while it's falling apart, and in that regard, mission accomplished. Shifting gears to the audio though, the first thing you'll notice when you jump into Voxel Project is that there's no background music. It's dead quiet unless you've got some chaos unfolding around you. Now, there are radios in the game, and they appear set up to handle actual music. I tried putting some random MP3 files into the folder listed on the radio itself, and it did show up in game, but nothing played, so that was a bit of a disappointment. Other than that, the sound effects here are actually way more immersive than I expected for a voxel-based sandbox game. When you smash light bulbs or break glass, it sounds convincing. There's this sharp, crunchy feedback that feels super satisfying. Even the footsteps change depending on the surfaces you walk on, which is a nice little detail that helps sell this game a bit more. Explosions, tools, structural collapses, they've all got a good amount of weight to them. You know, if sound itself actually had weight. But you can tell there was actual thought put into how things should sound when you tear them apart. That said, the default audio levels are loud, so it might be worth it to turn down the main volume slider a bit before playing. All in all though, the sound design does its job. It's clean, it's immersive, and it adds to the overall vibe. Now, when it comes to the settings and customization, Voxel Project actually gives you a pretty solid spread. There's a good amount of tweaking you can do here, and what makes it even better is how it's all done inside the tablet you carry on you at all times. Compared to flat menus that yank you out of the experience, this is definitely a step up. It's simple, sure, but at least it's part of the experience instead of just pasted on top of it. Through the tablet, you can fine-tune a lot of little things like adjusting the height of your waist slot separately from your overall player height. Surprisingly, a lot of games with body storage slots don't have features like this, so this is a plus. You can even resize the tablet itself. It's not a feature you'd expect, but it makes perfect sense. There are also more technical touches, like the ability to enable FSR if you're running an AMD graphics card. I didn't spot any DLSS settings, but this setting could be dynamic since DLSS is exclusive to NVIDIA graphics cards. If I lost you, these fancy terms just refer to technology the different brands of graphics cards use to help your game look great while running smooth. Either way, it's nice to see performance options being taken seriously, especially for a game that leans hard into physics destruction. Unfortunately, stick turning can't be fully disabled, which is a bit of a bummer for those of us who prefer this setting non-existent. But you get other unexpected features like steering wheel rotation adjustments, so clearly there was some thought put into these settings. Vehicles in VR can be pretty rough, so settings like these are always appreciated. As for the UI itself, it's straightforward and functional. Your health is shown as a small bar tucked just under your inventory. It's easy to miss at first, but once you know where it is, it works. And seeing your inventory is as simple as twisting your wrist. The whole interface gives off this inspired but basic vibe, like the foundation is there, and with more polish, it could look amazing. But now that I've smashed stuff, poked around in menus, and questioned why stick turning is still a thing, let's break down how Voxel Project holds up in terms of immersion. Voxel Project is clearly not aiming to be a cinematic masterpiece. It knows exactly what it is, a playground for destruction and carnage. With some clever design choices and solid VR mechanics holding it together, this game, if nothing else, lays a strong foundation for a potentially amazing experience. If you're into creative destruction and don't mind a little bit of jank here and there, it might be worth diving into for you. I'll flash the scores on the screen for you here, but I should note that this game seems to put an emphasis on modability. You can use the Steam Workshop to quickly throw some mods into your game, and the devs give off a modder-friendly vibe. Of course, mods can't be factored into this review because they aren't directly the work of the devs, but what do you guys think about modded VR games? Personally, I think we need more of them, but share your thoughts in the comments. And while you're down there, please hit the like button and subscribe for more VR content. Thanks for watching, and until next time. It's following me, and I'm very freaked out. Turn on the lights. I'm afraid to look away again.